Hi everyone, welcome back to Rod TV. What an exciting week it's been in South African politics. And this week we'll be touching on what's been going on and what to expect both in the country and for yourself in the month ahead. So, that exciting week in South African politics was generated by various revelations about Jacob Zuma's corrupt dealings with the Gupta family and with their various attempts to appoint people to cabinet and so on. And basically, what has been coming out is much more information about the secret activity behind closed doors that goes on in Jacob Zuma's government. This is what I said back in January. The charts show President Zuma keeping a low profile and even being a little bit isolated, not in the Mbeki sense of the word, but being isolated at this time. He needs to play it carefully because there's stuff going on around him that is he's not necessarily entirely aware of, or that is also related to how the government view themselves at a bigger level, or how the party views itself as a bigger level. It's about appearance versus reality. That is the theme of this year, and you're going to see that. You're going to see one thing and then discover another thing continuously. But it is the waking up and facing reality that in the long run could work well for us. The president himself is also shown as doing something which tarnishes the image of the country, not something terribly unusual. Everything points to a big shake-up this year, including or related to the state of the president or the presidency itself. These are the circumstances that astrologers could use to predict a sudden coup within the presidency, not of the country, of the presidency. The main thrust of that prediction is essentially that there's been a lot of lies and deceptions in the first quarter of the year, and that those will begin to come out, that there's a lot of discussion about Jacob Zuma behind closed doors, that's obviously within the ANC, and that there will be big changes in the president's life around May at various other times during the year. And I finished off by saying this. On the whole, the charts showing that while the government is under crisis, that everyone's waking up, the people are waking up more, they obviously will put more pressure. It is an election year. That puts more pressure. And facing reality means addressing things that need to be addressed. And sometimes, even though deception leads to it, but by things being exposed, having to own up to things and face reality. No doubt there will be more developments in the weeks ahead, and I'm sure you'll find me getting the chance to comment over here. So do stay tuned. Remember to come back every week. But more importantly, what's going on in your life? It's time to look briefly at the month ahead. And this would be the month of Aries, which is really the first month in the astrological year. The year kind of begins now. Very often, the things that happen to us during the month of Aries are quite consequential for the whole year. So it's often, for everyone, it's a good time to set things up and get things going because they can resonate the whole year long. And for South Africans, looking at the change into the month of Aries here in South Africa, we can certainly see that the effects of this period, the early beginning of Aries, resonate throughout the year. So that will certainly have relationship to the political situation that I was referring to, but as well as our own individual situation. So then, for Aries and the other cardinal signs, and that's Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, it is in many ways a go ahead and institute the changes you've been wanting to make. Things that you inaugurate during this period are likely to be long lasting, especially with regards to work. And it might take a little bit of a shake up for you too for that to happen. You might need to make some restructuring at work or some radical changes to ensure that the effects of the lastingness throughout the year really benefit from you. Get those changes in now so that over the course of the year that really does work for you. This might also involve input from far away. It's a great time for traveling. It's a great time for work involving foreigners, foreign input, travel itself, anything like that. Especially true for Capricorns, to look at resources that are available to you from far off. But that is also true for everyone. And sometimes when astrology talks about far away and talks about travel, it also means it's a good time to learn something new. That's only ever for about a quarter of the people that I'm talking to. So if you have had something on your plans, some plans to look at doing a course or studying something, this would also be the time for that, especially if it involves travel. The other major area of your life for some of you will be children. Important developments regarding your children will also be quite beneficial in your life, and you can also institute some changes with respect to family and children that you want to last the whole year long. So, this is the time to teach your kids new patterns and new routines and really make this year into something for them as well. In some senses, I want to say to the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, this is the year to do something unexpected. Make a big difference to yourself. Make some big change of some kind. This is the month to make it happen. So restructure is your key word. For the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, well, I've been telling you that this is a relatively easy year for you. That pattern continues and actually turns into a good time for money, a good time for stabilizing some things in your life, sorting things out, not restructuring like our friends in the other signs, but actually just sorting things out. Things are working for you. Now fix this pattern, get it into this kind of shape. And this is also a good time to start working out financial affairs and sorting out financial affairs, because it does look like there's money coming in or some kind of stabilization with regards to financial affairs. You know, the universe has a funny way of kind of keeping us in check about that. And while your charts are talking about good for financial affairs, they're also talking about it's a good time for unexpected expenses. So it looks like you're going to need that financial increase and input as it helps you deal with those unexpected expenses, which, if I look at this chart, does seem to be spending on yourself. So I'm not talking about shock bills. I'm talking about you didn't realize you needed that expensive something right now. Of course, for some of you, it will perhaps be expenses that you would rather do without. But it does seem as if you're prepared for it. Look at it as if saying, the universe gave me extra to spend. This expense came up. This is perfect for this month. It's not necessary to accumulate at this particular time because most of the year is stable for yourself. And when you're in a good spot like that, it's worth spending on yourself. Your fixed sign is all about getting a sense of security. For many of you in this sign, security comes through safe place and safe situation. And now it's time to extend that a little bit into a little bit more luxurious or something that you've wanted or something just to kind of pamper yourself a little bit, because that's also where some of the security is coming from. But still a great time. The one thing that I do need to warn Taurians about is they might be feeling a little lower or flatter this month, but that's not something to take seriously, and that will pass by the time your birthday rolls around. So carry on enjoying it. The mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, are also dealing with secrets this period. Jacob Zuma is not one of them. He's wishing those secrets had never happened. But for the rest of you, it is really time to either deal with secrets, or sometimes that really just means stuff you haven't been paying attention to, or at worst have actually been sweeping under the carpet. So this is really time just to confront some of that stuff. It's mostly trivial stuff, but for some mutable signs, it could also be related to matters to do with health. And that means stuff you've neglected. Classically, stuff we neglect is things like the dentist, things that we're supposed to be doing for ourselves. So whether you've been meaning to get a checkup or there's something that you need to address, this is really the time just to get on top of that stuff. It's not really about your health is something you're worrying about, and I'm being diplomatic about it. I'm really just saying it's the time to catch up on everything you've been sweeping aside, neglecting, or avoiding. So the little niggles that worry you, or the little too bored or couldn't be bothered things, whatever they may be, all fit into this category. And it's like an investment. A little input into sorting that out at this time, this month, is going to go a long way for much of the year to actually keep that under your control. It's also a time of kind of overwhelmed for you, feeling overwhelmed, probably by work. there can be too much work, making too many sacrifices, and doing too much work that isn't benefiting you, but is rather benefiting either other people or your employers or whatever the case may be. And it's not really going to help you to be a little bit more selfish now. It just means all you can do is create better boundaries. Don't get yourself into situations where you are working thanklessly. Trust me, you're not going to be paid for that extra work and you're not going to be thanked for that extra work right now. So rather draw the line and try and avoid doing it, especially making sure that you're not swamped or overwhelmed, because you could also go into a little bit of retreat. Hey, actually, the chart says it is time for you to go into a bit of a retreat, but it's not time for a holiday. So it's not that kind of retreat. Maybe this is the month to spend a little bit more time with yourself, get away from it all. In the last few weeks, it's likely that circumstances in your life changed in such a way where you're actually getting less time to yourself. And that's something you need to sort out before that slips away. You can often avoid stuff until it kind of jumps on you. And here's how to avoid avoiding the stuff. And that is just some quality time alone, whether it's you go for a walk or you just take the afternoon off away from everyone and spend a little time just getting back to your sense of yourself so you can not be overwhelmed. Same applies to being misunderstood. For you mutable signs, it can be a time where there's increased miscommunication or being misunderstood, leading to your boundaries being pushed down and you feeling perhaps overwhelmed, used, or something like that. And really, again, by having better boundaries, by making sure you're getting some selfish time, by making sure that you're working for something that benefits you, not just slogging away for everyone else, this is going to be a month that actually can work out, where that retreat refreshes you. And by the time we get to April, May, when I see you back here, you're in a much stronger position. So take it easy, be kind to yourself, and you'll actually end up starting a whole new refreshing cycle in about a month's time. Time to take one of your questions, and this is your question, James. James asks, will I study at the place I want to study at in the near future and be able to finance it through work? Well, James, the first thing I want to tell you is that the answer is a yes. You will be able to study at the institution you want to. It's going to be a little bit difficult at first, as you've already discovered in recent weeks where the plans didn't work exactly as you thought they would. It's still going to be a little bit of a further struggle, and it might take another 2.5 to 3 months to actually figure it out or sort it out or find a way that this is going to work for you. So don't lose heart, you need a little bit more time. Actually, there are 2 time cycles busy showing in your chart. So the first breakthrough, if you like, is in about 2.5 months' time. And actually, I expect that that is related to you finally have either signed up at this institution, registered, or been accepted, or something like that. There's a connection with that institution at about that time. But it's after October that your chart looks in the most perfect condition. If this institution starts its year late in the year, that is going to benefit you. But whatever happens after October, things are working in your favor. So if worst case scenario, it can't be sorted out for the near future, it is still going to happen. So rather give yourself this bigger plan that says, look, worst case is it takes me a year to sort out exactly how this is going to happen. Chances are that by the time I get to about June, that's about 2.5 months away, things are sorted and I know how this is going to work or it's actually happening. Same goes for October. There's a breakthrough. I can see this is either sorted or it's actually happening. But certainly, by the time you get to next year, one of those things has panned out and it is actually happening. So hang in there, James. It's not going to get much easier for a while, but you are going to end up studying there. So it's worth the push, worth working on the problem. It's a problem that needs to be solved rather than an obstacle that faces you, and that problem will be solved. I guess you're going to be making the money you need in order to pay for your studies. So good luck with them. We've got time for an Astrology 101 question from Marilyn, who asks, when you say the moon is in Taurus or the moon is in Leo or the moon is wherever, what exactly do you mean? Does the moon start in Aries at the beginning of every month or something like that? What's the connection? So simply put, at every new moon, the moon will be in the same sign that is the sun sign for that month. So Right now, we're just about to have the spring equinox, Northern Hemisphere, autumn equinox, Southern Hemisphere. That's the beginning of the sign Aries. That means the new moon will be in Aries. But in 6 months' time, when Libra begins, the new moon will be in Libra. And then about every 2.5 days, the moon goes to its next sign. So in the course of a month, the moon goes through all 12 signs of the zodiac. As I said, starting with at new moon, the sign that is the sign of that month, and then going through all 12 signs. So effectively what happens is that in March, as it is now, the new moon is in Aries, and then it goes Aries, Taurus, Gemini every 2.5 months. Next month, the new moon will happen in Taurus, and then it'll go Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, etc. The following month, the new moon will be in Gemini, and then it'll go from there Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and so on. And each time going through all 12 signs, starting with the sign of the month. And that is our special relationship with the moon, and how the moon gets to do everything every month for all of us in the end. So, hope that's clear now, Marilyn. Remember, everyone, your questions about yourself, about astrology, the cosmos, anything else you might want to ask about, send them to this address or visit me at my website over here and fill in your questions. Next week is a long weekend. I'll be taking a break from Rod TV next week, so I'll see you in 2 weeks' time unless something dramatic happens. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and choose to receive notifications of when a new episode pops up, just in case there's excitement in politics next week, but I think we've got a bit longer to wait. So I'll see you after Easter in 2 weeks' time. Have a great holiday, everyone. See you then.